Hello everyone, this is Alex from alexlancer.com, and in previous parts we covered how to create your own REST API authorization server with CodeIgniter 4 and how to create protected resources where we allowed blog posts to be retrieved or edited only by authorized users. So in this third part of our CodeIgniter 4 REST API server tutorial, I would like to show you how you can change the default users table to your own, or in other words, how you can build your own storage that will help you adjust your REST API authorization process to your project's needs. So this video will be structured in the following way. We will start with creating our own users table, then we will create our custom storage class, and then we will create really fast a user model, really simple one. And the last thing we will have to do is to add user registration method to our controller. So let's get started. As you can see on my screen, I have opened the database that we used in previous parts, which is REST API. And in this database, I will add a new table that we will call users. I will add a few more fields to have more space. And let's add our basic fields. So we have the ID, we have first name, we have last name, we have an email, we want a password, a created ad, or actually before that, let's add a scope. Even though we are not using it in this tutorial, still it is good to keep it inside our database, inside our table, so that we don't have to change it later. So the created ad, let's change this field type to date time and set it to current timestamp. The scope will be a varchar, let's say, of 20, and by default let's define it up, the same scope that we defined in our client's table. Our password will be varchar 255, email will be varchar of 50, last name will be a varchar of 20, first name will be a varchar also of 20, and the ID will be an auto increment integer. Let's save it. Okay, our table, users table, is ready. So now we can jump to our project and start creating our new custom storage. Let's create a file also inside our app libraries folder, and let's name the file custom OAuth storage.php. Now, before we add anything here, let's navigate to our vendors folder, find bshuffer, OAuth server PHP, src, OAuth 2 folder, and then go to the storage folder and locate the pdo.php file. Select all, copy, and go back to your custom OAuth storage. Paste the file as it is inside. So we will have to change the namespace because our libraries namespace are app libraries. This we will leave as it is, and our class name we will change it to custom OAuth storage. Remove the last two interfaces, we will not need them, and remove the last comma to avoid any errors. So now we will have to prefix some of our interfaces with the correct paths. Let's do it. Let's select all of them. and let's just add OAuth 2 storage / that's it. So in our custom storage, okay, I see one error, one typo here. So in our custom storage, we will have to change two methods to make it work. And actually three, I guess. Yeah, three. Because the first change we have to do is inside the construct method. Inside the construct method, navigate to this config variable and change the user table with the name of the table that you've created for your users. So in my case, it was users. Next, hit Ctrl F and search for function get user. You will find few functions that start with get user, but we want the one that is just get user. And it is the last one. So inside here, we will remove this part because we don't need it. And to select a user, we will use native CodeIgniter for helpers and functions from the database library. So let's start with db equals db connect. We will not use any model for that. Let's just use native CodeIgniter query builders. So let's say users where email. The default PDO storage was using a username for retrieving the user from the database. What I find to be more common, at least in my projects, I would use an email address for that reason, because I don't find myself very often to use usernames anymore. That's why let's say that this username is not a username but email. So where email equals email, let's send this to our where method, and user equals builder get row array. I'm specifying an array here specifically because if we would use like that, the builder would give us as a result an object. We don't want to use an object because most of the bshuffers library uses array throughout the classes. Therefore, let's skip that. Also, let's create an array too, and here what we want to do is we want to change the user info to our user, because the user array is our user info, and the user ID specified here, we will specify it to be equal to our user ID. Now we are done with get user, and one more thing we have to change here is to change this CheckPassword method, because I will use in our registration form, I'd like to use the default PHP encryption function for the passwords and not the hashing algorithm SHA1. Therefore, let's say password verify, password verify, where we will send our password from here, and we will compare it to the password from the user's array. So this user password will be the hash password from the database. That's it. Nothing else has to be done, at least for our scenario, for our functionality. Nothing else needs to be done to this custom OAuth storage. It is ready for us. Now the only thing we have to say is to actually use it in our authorization server. So let's go back to our oauth.php file where we have our server settings. We can comment this out and say use app libraries custom OAuth storage.php. So custom OAuth storage file. And now on this line here where we say storage new PDO, we can say storage new custom OAuth storage. That's it. Nothing else needs to be changed. Okay, so let's move to our user model. And we will copy the block model that we have created in the previous part. Let's make it user model. We will change it a bit. So first of all, let's change the name of the class, which is user model. The table is users. The primary key is ID. So now the allowed fields, we will have first name, last name, password, correct, and of course the email. Few more things that I would like to add here. I don't know if you have watched my user login tutorial also on CodeIgniter 4, where I created the user model, and the password hashing is being done while user updates or creates an entry in our database. So here how you can do it. Let's create protected variable before insert and give it a callback of before insert. Let's do the same before update. And now we will create 3 methods. One will be protected function before insert. Why am I missing this N? Before insert, so which will get the data object, return also data, and here we will say data equals this password hash. So this method we have to create it. Let's say protected function password hash, also array data, where we will say that if is set data password. So the data object contains a data object within itself. So that's why we say data, and then we access the actual information that is being sent. So we say data, if is set, then data. We want to hash our password to avoid it being stored in a plain text. So password equals password hash, again data, password, let's say password default, and of course we return data. Now we can copy this, paste it here, and also create for the before update callback, and our model is ready. One more thing we have to do is to add a registration method to our user controller. So let's go to our controller, user, and underneath the login function, let's go public function register. Let's load the helper here because we will need to make some form validations. Let's instantiate the data array. Because we will use our model inside here, let's say that we need it. Use app models user model. Good. And back to our register method. Let's say if this request get method is not equal post, let's die and only, actually no, let's return this fail yeah, because we have to use, okay, we'll see. I think it should work. Yeah, because I'm loading the response straight here, so it should be fine. So return this fail, only post request is allowed. So this is in case someone tries to send a GET request to our register method. Now let's move to the next part of our validation, where we will actually validate the form fields. Let's create our rules. So what we have here, we have first name, required. So let me just copy it like that. So we have a required field for the first name. Let's say also mean length of, I don't know, 3 characters. And of course max length of 20. Now we can make this last name exactly the same. Let's set our email to be a required field, also a valid email field, And one more option here, one more rule here is unique. And let's pass our users email table to be compared with. So now we have password, min length of 8 characters, and our password confirm field. The only thing we have to do here is to say that it should match, so matches password. Of course, this field must be the same with this key here. So we are good with our rules, and let's actually run our validation and test it. If this validation fails, so that's why we put an exclamation mark, this validate rules, return this fail, and inside the fail method we will set our errors. This validator get errors. This method get errors will give us an array of errors without any HTML code. So this is what we want for our REST API. Else, let's load our model. Say new user model. Let's create our data to be passed inside our database. So what we have here, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's grab these fields, paste them here, select them again, and what we actually can do here, I copy each line separately. And now I can say this request get var like that, comma. Nice. So let's say user ID equals not this, just model insert data. So model insert method will return the new ID that was created from this action. Therefore, we go to data ID equals user ID, so that we can send the object respond created, let's say data, so that we can send this user information back to our respond. Or here I have a type also. Of course, we can send only the ID, or you can manipulate and send whatever data you want. The good practice, of course, is to unset the data password. This field for sure should not be traveling throughout the HTTP requests without need. So I think it is time to try our REST API, our new table actually, with our Postman requests. Okay, so what we have here, first of all, we have to register a new user. I don't think we have one. Yeah, so if we go users browse, yeah, our table is empty. So let's register. We will try a get request to see if we are getting the validation error that we are sending. So we have HTTP localhost register, and let's say we send like that. Okay, let's deal first of all with some of our requests. So localhost register, yeah, of course, register does not exist. User register exists. Okay, so we are getting only post request is allowed, so this works. Perfect. Let's go now to our post request and let's send it without any data. Okay, so undefined variable ules. Of course, ules also does not exist. Ules here, rules. Let's try again. Undefined variable those. Good, fixed. Send again. Okay, so now we're getting all of our validation errors, which is pretty awesome. Let's create our variables that we will be submitting in our postman. So change to form URL encode the body request, and let's go. First name Alex, last name Lancer, email test@alexlancer.com. What else do we have? We have password. I will set it to password, and we have password confirm, also password. Let's see what we get. The password confirm field does not match the password. So password, how is that? Password confirm. Okay, because it has also a typo there. It is confirm. Let's try again and send it. And here you go. So we got our user ID 1 and our user's object back. Let's check in the database if the password is hashed. It is. The scope is up. Created time works perfectly. Cool. So it is time now to check if our login process still works as it was working before we changed our storage. So let's go and check. I already have a login tab open here. So what I have to change? Nothing. I think the credentials are exactly the same. So let's see. Send. Looks like it works. One more time. Yes, let me grab one access token and go to our blogs. Paste a new token here. Yeah, looks fine. So let's see in our database, also in our OAuth access tokens table. As you can see, the user ID now is the ID from the users table. Maybe you recall from the first video, from the first part that we did, the user ID was actually the username from the OAuth users table. So it was Alex Lancer, because as you can see, this table has no user IDs. So now you can enhance your REST API server even more. And thank you all for watching. See you in the next tutorial.